through the situation, and it still has slowly, individuals have leaked out of prison. On the criminal justice reform, as it relates to pattern and practice, brutality, confessions, false identification, credible recantations, we've struggled against a lot of judges. And we did get a prosecutor that was willing to lend ear to torture victims' families for the torture victims. So Kim Foxx did probably more than any state's attorney in the history of state's attorneys have ever done for the wrongfully convicted. On that issue, she stands to be the most outstanding person on that. Now, we're running into a transition. We're not going to get another candidate if we don't elect the right candidate on this particular issue. Every prosecutor is going to lock people up. That's their job. That's how they perform their official capacity as a prosecutor. However, we don't need an individual who's going to turn a blind eye to detectives who have victimized people. Turn a blind eye to individuals who have cried the same cry for 30 and 40 years and remain in prison on the credibility of guys who have disgraced the country and named us the torture capital of the country, to have us in a situation where we have the most wrongful convictions in the country, that have tortured individuals, destroyed families, took fathers out of homes, mothers have died with their children in prison, knowing that their children were innocent. This is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with individuals that are behind bars in life and death situations. It's just that cut and dry. Every person that's living behind bars, like on this window here, every day when they wake up and see that they got a toilet and a bed, their room is no bigger than this. They living in cages like that based on individuals who have pled the fifth multiple times in federal court, who have been proven by DNA science. Don't even put the credibility of the defendants in it, the victims, well, who have been proven by DNA and different scientists have framed these individuals. Same individuals who got 25-page court-reported statements out of people who was in the county jail at the time that the crime happened. When he got out the county jail, they got a hold to him, got him to confess to a heinous rape, murder, and arson. Implicate two other people. They let him out when they found out he was in the county jail. They sent the other two people to prison on their credibility. This is the system we're dealing with. When you put them two guys in prison based on the testimony, based on the statement of a person who was in the county jail at the time that the crime happened, it no longer felt on the police. It no longer felt on the state's attorney. It felt on the judge. So at the end of the day, this is what we're dealing with. We have to be advocates for this issue as it relates to getting these brothers out of prison. I've been home going on 9 months. And this is all I've been doing. This is all I've been thinking about. This is all I'm going to continue to do because I'm not removed from prison. I'm still there. I was there 31 years. So when I talk to these guys on the phone every day, I live the same count check they live. I live the same phone call time they get. I live the same visits and non-visits that they never receive. I live the same food that they never get to taste when they go eat every day. I live the same pressure and push around that they get from particular racist people that's in the prison system. I live that same life every day in society. So we had an opportunity to get in this particular election. We had two nominees. We had a Democratic nominee and we had a Republican nominee. And most of the time, people on the south side, north side, east side, especially in the black community, they traditionally vote Democrat. But this is the problem. This is not a Prep Winkle Democrat that's running for election. This is a daily Democrat. This particular person that's running for election has already been involved in the same wrongful convictions that resulted in the chaos, the shame of our city and state that we got going on in this country right now. She was a part of it. She wrongfully convicted an 11-year-old child on a confession, taken by these same police. This is the person that's running and asking to be the top prosecutor, the only person that can charge somebody with a crime, the only person who can release somebody from jail, the only person that can drop charges. This is the person that's running for state's attorney. So what we're finna do right now, if this person get elected, is get a whole entire daily regime back in this Cook County State's Attorney's office. The reason that so many people was locked up for as long as they were, because you had Daley, who was a part of the torture, been sued for being a part of the torture, been given subpoenas to get depositions about the role that he played in disregarding the torture that went on. He had the Cook County State's Attorney's office. Then, his comrade, Richard Devine, took over the Cook County State's Attorney's office. And he repeated the impediment for guys being able to get back in court, build a record for themselves, in order to establish that they were either innocent or had been tortured. After he left office for the term that he had, then Anita Alvarez became Cook County State's Attorney. And during her tenure, she did the exact same thing. This is the same woman that the public voted against, who got on national TV and said that DNA don't mean, DNA including implicating somebody else in the crime, don't mean that these guys, the Inglewood Four, didn't do it. So what she was saying is, the police coerced 6 juveniles. The DNA proved that a serial rapist in Inglewood had committed that crime. Multiple crimes, not just that one crime, multiple crimes. And she went on to the confessions that these same detectives coerced these kids into giving, instead of exonerate them guys based on the DNA evidence that included a serial rapist. Somebody who had almost 7 victims in the city of Chicago, rape murders. And they got the DNA out of the woman that they accused these boys of. They found her in the garbage can. This is what we're dealing with. This is the indifference that we deal with people who want to side on the side and move on the side of these bogus police. There is nowhere in this country that you can research the history of the United States and you can find that any group of African-American detectives did this much victimization to any white people in this country and find what you find here in this situation. Nobody would have tolerated that. Not to put the racial element in it, because we've had people who did not tolerate it. Let's be mindful of the fact that most of these guys that got out of prison, they had white people, lawyers, assisting. So we're not really dealing with the racial component in that respect. We're dealing with it in the side of this. You either believe in justice and doing the right thing or you don't. These people, I believe, had a racist motive behind what they were doing. Our lives and other people's children's lives didn't mean nothing to them. That's it, that's all. We have an opportunity to support an individual for this office that is not a career politician, is not a career prosecutor in the respect of criminal law. This man is a career civil rights attorney, meaning that if you were victimized by somebody, the only way that you can get justice without going through the state's attorney's office as a citizen of this country, you can file a lawsuit. He would have been the one that would have been standing there with you, representing you in the court of law. So we're not dealing with politics. We're not dealing with individuals who've been hooked up in this scandal. We're dealing with people who have fought on the side of justice and have dealt with individuals who have tried to keep this railroad train moving. We didn't get the chance to set up the banners, but I have articles and things of that nature. This man fighting against Daley, Devine, and the police department against covering up torture in the media. So we're dealing with a person who had been involved in this issue while he was an alderman, knows about this issue, and is willing to go public with what he's going to do for the families of the individuals and the individuals who sitting in prison right now with these detectives who got a proven record of framing people. Planting evidence, pleading the fifth with a prosecutor looking at them, and then going right to court on another case and testifying saying, I didn't do anything wrong. So basically, you've had over 200 people walk in a room that didn't know each other and come out with the exact same experience. All of them are lying. The DNA lying. The fingerprint evidence is lying. Everything is lying but these detectives. So based on an individual who pled the fifth, saying that if I tell the truth, I could be prosecuted. Because that's the only way you can plead the fifth. Based on an individual who has done that, they got our family members, our homies, and our brothers sitting in prison, talking about they ain't got no credibility because they didn't believe them back in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. Now that this evidence come out, the only way they're not going to get out of prison is if they can keep them from getting in court and building a record. If they can shut their post-conviction down at the very top, at the very beginning, at the first level, if they can say they ran out of remedies and we don't need to go no further, that's the only way they're going to keep them from getting out of prison. That's it. So, this is my move. And I hope it's everybody in this room move and everybody that y'all know. This is the move. We're not asking for no red tape. We don't want no red tape. We don't want nobody promising to review these cases and look over them, and none of that. We want these brothers to have new trials without the evidence the police secured. Bottom line. That's it, that's all. That's why you're here today. You're here today to hear it out of his mouth so that when a person hears about it, it ain't no rumor if they run across you. Because the prosecutor do have the power to call somebody back to court, vacate their conviction, and give them a new trial. They have the power to petition the judge to release them. They have the power to step back and not prosecute nobody. They have that power. 90% of the individuals who have ever been hooked up on these torture confessions, these bogus identifications with these detectives, didn't even go to trial when their case got reversed. And 90% of them, if they did take it to trial, they didn't get reconvicted. Because all of the evidence that they had in those cases, those detectives manufactured and put on them in the first place. So when they pulled one chip down, the whole building came down. So we need to listen to this, and if we feeling it, we need to vote issue. Because time and time again, with the exception of good mayors, Harold Washington was a good mayor. And the reason that I say that is because Harold Washington is the one that reconstructed it, launches the OPS to investigate John Burge and his whole crew. And that report came back that 55 African Americans had been tortured by him. That's how all them guys got off death row. Harold Washington did that. Ryan didn't do that. He let them off death row, but it was Harold Washington that put them people on them, put his own team together, had them investigate the allegations of the public about their family members being tortured in that police station, and that's how the ball got to rolling on John Burge. Harold Washington did that. There was two major components in that. Harold Washington and Flint Taylor. Flint Taylor was the actual person that went to federal court and started the pattern and practice claim in Illinois. So had it not been for Harold Washington getting the police department to turn on the police department because he had the power to pick the police chief and delegate who was supposed to do what, we wouldn't have never had no release on death row. It wouldn't have been all them brothers that got off death row. It wouldn't be no Ann Patterson free. Stanley Howe, none of them people would be free. They would have died on prison. They would have died on death row. 15 to 16 people came off death row innocent in Illinois. So at the end of the day, we're looking at a situation where we had the best defense attorneys that money can buy in Illinois, the most rigorous and most eye-examining process that's supposed to went on before you put a person on death row for the state to kill him. And it was at the last minute when other people got involved and started investigating their story and not what the police put together that they concluded that these guys was innocent on death row. The only way we get our hand in to pull our people out of prison, we got to have a hand that can pull them in, put it in, and take them out. There's only two people in Illinois that can do that. A prosecutor and a governor. It ain't nobody else, a judge, it ain't nobody else in the state of Illinois that can get a person out of prison. Now, they can bring something to a judge, he can agree, let him go. But a judge can't sit down in prison and release nobody without the prosecutor petition. And the only person that got the unquestionable power to let somebody out of prison, he don't have to have no paperwork, he ain't got to have no clemency, he ain't got to have no reason, he ain't got to explain it to nobody, is the governor. So for everybody that got somebody in prison that they love and they believe has been messed over by these clowns, them the people we need to be targeted. The congressman can't do nothing unless he can get the governor to do it. The alderman can't do nothing unless he can get the state's attorney to do it. Preckwinkle can't do nothing unless she got a state's attorney that's going to do it. She had a state's attorney that was going to do it. She leaving office now. She put somebody in place. She backed somebody. The Preckwinkle machine backed a candidate that was going to do the right thing in as many of these cases that she could. Now, it ain't going to never be to our satisfaction because they're our loved ones. It ain't gonna never, until them guys is out on the street enjoying their families, being with their daughters, their kids, their girls, and all this stuff, that ain't gonna never be satisfactory to them. It's satisfactory to me and my lady that I got out. My son, my daughter that I got out. It's not gonna be satisfactory to you or somebody that you know until your child is home, your brother's home. Or a sister, because there's some females locked up too with these clowns. The only way you're going to feel the satisfaction that I felt, and your person that's incarcerated is going to feel the satisfaction I felt, is if they get out. So, on the sideline, anybody supporting this issue, an advocate can say, man, I'm happy for you, man, I'm glad you're home. But deep inside, they're like, when that's going to happen for my people? When that's going to happen for my brother? Etc. It's not going to happen until we tell these people what we want, quit approaching them and asking them to do something, and let them know. If you don't do it our way, then you don't get in. Because it's easier for me to tell people, black people anyway, not to vote for you, than it is for me to get them to vote for you. But for some apparent reason, we can translate poison real well. We can go on the negative real fast. Yeah, I didn't want to go down there and do that no way. See what I'm saying? Sometimes we have to twist one another's arms to get us to get in part of the process. That's just the reality. I ain't saying it's just something that's unique to black people. I'm sure all races have that problem. We don't have no problems that no other race have, but we're talking about us right now. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, unless we put people in place and tell these people what we want, we're not going to get anything. We're not going to get anything supporting people and hoping that they do something. You got probably 2,000 people or more waiting on Christian to deal with a clemency. He got everything else to do but address our concerns. But at the same time, they want to spend $2 billion on a new state-of-the-art state-built prison. I ain't heard nobody in the black community ask him to take their $2 billion and build no prison. Now he got ambitions to run for president. He trying to make it like they pushing him into it. Well, I ain't really thought about it. You know, we hoping that Biden do the right thing. You know, but I'm still standing behind the candidate. You know, he doing that, but all the time he know damn well that he got ambitions. He got 5 Illinois politicians is the ones that's demanding that Biden step down so he can step up. So I'm cool with the game. I'm cool with the game. I have no problem with the individual playing politics. I have no problem with people getting their bread. I just want my brothers home. If you can do that, then you ain't okay with me. You can get my vote and all that. But Democratic conventions and all that stuff don't mean nothing to me while my homie's suffering in prison. That ain't got nothing to do with the ones that had John Burns, Guevara, and all these other people that died in prison. Grayling died in prison. Jesse Hatch died in prison. Waiting on this exact issue. Waiting on this exact issue. Jesse Hatch died in prison with a letter from the special prosecutor saying, we will let you go if you do not sue. The same thing they told Aaron Patterson while they was holding on to him when his life was dangling in the balance on death row. And his mother had to get out there in front of the media and say, why would you offer my son his freedom if this got something to do with justice if he don't sue? That man died in prison, wanting his name cleared. He didn't go home to his daughters, wanting his name cleared. And he would go to court with the FBI backing him, saying that we know that we believe that evidence was planted in this case. We know you was tortured, but what we really investigating is whether evidence was planted in this case. A letter from the special prosecutor telling him he could be released, and other things, other documents saying that he had been tortured. And the judge wouldn't let him go because they knew he was going back and forth to the hospital on a fatal illness.
How many prophets?
And he told him, y'all delaying this case so I can die in prison. He went to court and told the judge, you giving me continuances, I'm representing myself. The man was a bona fide solid litigator. I'm representing myself. I don't need a continuance. I got the documents. We got the evidence. What is the problem? Y'all delaying this case so I can die in prison. We can't look backwards only for what the evidence we need to look forward to get these brothers out. We have to get people who are going to represent our interests. As I started this, every prosecutor is going to charge people in prosecuting. Nobody's going to be elected to that office that's not going to prosecute people. That's what the office is. So the reality of people going to jail is not our issue. We're not complaining about people getting out of jail. We're talking about how the system victimized the people that they got in jail that belong to us. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. And as long as we can keep the narration on that, then we're not talking about nothing else. We don't want people convoluting the issue. We don't want people changing the narrative. We don't want people trying to throw a context on top of a context. I'm going to give you a prime example of two of those things that include propaganda. Whenever police get in front of a podium, when one of our children in our community get killed or something heinous happens, they talk about, where's the outrage? Why ain't nobody complaining about this? We don't have to complain about that. Y'all want to indict somebody if you send the wrong person to jail. The reason that we get out there and protest in the street because of what you won't indict, which is a Chicago police officer who have done something to somebody in the public. That's why we have to protest. We protest because of what you won't do. We don't have to worry about you prosecuting somebody black. You're going to do that whether you get the right one or the wrong. That's a proven fact. That ain't nothing I'm saying.
That's true.
Then you got these individuals that say, Kill Fox letting everybody out of jail. Kill Fox can't let nobody out of jail. Judges let people out of jail. Kill Fox don't have the authority to just let somebody that's being prosecuted out of jail. Criminal cops don't give bonds. Judges give bonds. So whenever you get these police get in the public and put this poison out there like Kill Fox, got somebody a bond and let him out of jail. I've never known a prosecutor to go in the courtroom and demand a bond for a defendant that they actively prosecute. So this is the type of stuff you hear instead of saying, hey, Judge Blase let dude out of jail, and he responsible for what happened to somebody else if that person got out and committed a crime. Not Kim Fox. That's police propaganda. That's Chicago police propaganda. It's the same propaganda that say that having a gun is a violent offense. Possessing a gun is not a violent offense. Everybody got a Second Amendment right to possess a gun. Now, when you do something you ain't got no business doing with it and you violate the law, that's a crime. So that's what I mean by we don't need nobody trying to change the narrative or create a different context. We ask for innocent people or tortured people to be given a fair trial or let out of prison, period. I'm not talking about anything else. If a person been victimized by this system, given 100 years and ain't nobody dead, that's an injustice. That's not a normal thing that's supposed to happen in this state. Because we have an Illinois Constitution that say otherwise. It's not me. We need to recognize, well, we recognize that. I don't want to talk to y'all like y'all not me. Apologize for that. We need other people to recognize what's going on. The people who think that we need to do something simply because we haven't done the contrary. So if this man come in this room today and announce that he's willing to kill somebody you love or somebody you advocating for, they got a bogus identification secured by Guevara, Cato out west, anybody that worked under John Burns outside, Boudreaux, Harry, Masslinger, McDormick, anybody. Palladino, O'Brien, anybody. You should become a fierce advocate, not for him, for your family member to get what he told you he's going to get. See what I'm saying? Because we got a bunch of people going to tell us they're going to do stuff. But they always put some slide in. Some individuals come try to get your vote. Oh, we're going to hold people accountable. And we're going to do this. Who you going to hold accountable? Because I know you ain't talking about going out there locking up no Chicago police. So it's only other one person on the other side of this. Who you talking about holding accountable? That type of stuff, being evasive. You're not going to get a prosecutor that's going to say he's not going to try to put people in prison. That's his job. That's just not going to happen. But what we don't want is racial profiling. We don't want racial politics. We don't want individuals planting evidence in cases. We don't want people beating confessions out of people. We don't want people grabbing witnesses and making them shuffling the cards and making them identify somebody. We don't want you forcing a person to hold on to something he told the police when he got around people that can protect him and say, that ain't what happened. That's what we don't want.
Putting our children in jail when they should be in the training program.
Exactly. We have to understand that prison is not a solution for anything. Because if prison was a solution for anything, and we done had prisons in this country for over 800 years, then there wouldn't be no crime going on. It's just that simple. Prison is not a solution. Prison is a punishment. It's not a correction. Yes, an individual can go to prison, they can mature, and then they can find themselves. They can get involved in something, religion, business, or whatever, and then find a path in life because they desire one.
Yeah. Then they go to jail for wrongdoing, not for not doing wrong.
Exactly. They go to jail for wrongdoing, not for stuff they didn't do.
That's right.
So prison is not a solution to the problem that we have. It is for the person who is connected to somebody who has been victimized, a revenge angel. The court system is not a revenge angel, but for that person, it's something. But at the end of the day, keeping it on topic, we're talking about individuals who've been victimized by the system. Outrageous sentences, torture confessions, bogus identification, suggestive identification, recantations that people voluntarily gave that the state's attorney spent their entire time trying to say that it came about some other nefarious way.
And just by speaking out too, about how you getting treated You can't even, black folks cannot even speak out about how wrong we're being treated. Because if you do, then they're gonna attack you. They're gonna attack you like they done me. I emailed City Hall and told them how they treat us blacks. And they sent detectives after me, they took my gun and everything. They got me set up for order of protection, something I didn't even do. The lady ain't got no verification. They had really came and fucked up my life. I was state employee, retired 31 years. I'm a SAG-AFTRA actor, upcoming comedian, and upcoming writer. I'm on the conservatory with the SAG-AFTRA and so much more in these organizations. And this lady went and told them that I pushed her, I shoved her. No evidence, I swear to God. I hope I die and go to heaven with my mama. And that's what I told the judge, and he thought I had a problem because I'm defending myself.
He didn't think you had no problem.
Judge Michael J. Gump. I
No,
have
you
him on
think
my
you had a
Facebook because I am not afraid to say that this judge messed up my life. And trying to mess it up, and I want it back.
Let me just say something real quick about that. That is reminiscent of 1865. In 1865, black people couldn't testify against whites. Right?